All right, welcome back to the BC Hunting Seminar.
Yeah,
We're jumping right into our fourth installment here.
that's right.
And so far, we've covered, firearm safety, understand the regs, a lot of that kind of good foundational stuff.
Absolutely.
But now we're getting into some really critical skills,
Yeah.
I think, for anyone who wants to be a responsible hunter.
For sure.
And that is animal identification.
Animal ID, very important.
Absolutely. This is huge. And this is something that, misidentification can lead to a lot of negative consequences.
Absolutely. Not just for, for obvious reasons like harvesting the wrong species, but safety as well.
Great.
You
Yeah.
need to know what you're looking at out there. It could save your life, misidentifying a bear, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, ultimately we all want to be ethical hunters.
For sure.
Yes.
Conservation is a big part of it.
Absolutely.
Being able to identify animals.
Yeah. And so let's get right into it and imagine ourselves, right? Like we're out in the field.
Yep.
We're in the backcountry of British Columbia. We're up in the Alpine.
Beautiful.
And we're hiking through this kind of rugged terrain.
Yep.
And we suddenly spot an animal with a bright white rump patch.
Ooh, you're talking about a bighorn sheep for sure.
Yeah.
They love that kind of open, rugged terrain. Those mountain slopes, they blend right in.
Yeah. You see that white rump patch? It's like nature's own little caution sign. Like, hey, bighorn sheep crossing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But how do we tell that apart from, something like a thin-horn sheep?
Yeah. So thin-horn sheep, they're typically found a little further north in BC, but they like similar terrain. You can really tell them apart by the horns, though. The thin-horn sheep, as the name suggests, has those thinner horns, and they curl really tight. And the bighorn, those horns are massive. They curve outward. You can't really miss them.
Yeah. And speaking of horns, you can't talk horns without mentioning elk.
Oh, man, those elk, those huge antlers, especially the males, those bulls with their long, sweeping antlers, that's quite a sight.
Oh, yeah.
No moose on Vancouver Island either, or coyotes for that matter.
Right.
Moose with their massive antlers, those palmated antlers, and that bell, that flap of skin hanging from their throat. Pretty distinctive. They stick to the mainland.
Yeah. It's really, it's fascinating how these animals, they've all got their little niches, their little spots in these different ecosystems of British Columbia.
It really is. Every animal has its place.
Yeah. Now let's say we leave the Alpine, right? We head down, we go into the forest.
Okay.
And we're walking through the forest.
Yeah.
And we see another ungulate.
Yeah.
This time it's a mule deer.
Oh, yeah, mule deer.
But, I always get them mixed up with a white-tailed deer.
I hear ya. A lot of people do.
Yeah.
The antlers are a good way to tell them apart. See, mule deer, their antlers, they kind of grow in these forked pairs. White-tailed deer, their antlers have this single main beam, and the tines kind of branch off from that.
Okay.
And when a white-tailed deer runs, well, the name kind of gives it away. That tail goes straight up, flashing that white underside.
Right. That's a good field marking right there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's a classic.
Yeah. Okay, so we're still in the woods right
In
now.
the woods, love it.
And we see a flash of movement.
Okay.
And this time, it's this sleek, muscular animal
All right.
with a long, cylindrical tail.
What could it be?
Could it be a cougar?
Could be. They're pretty elusive, those cougars. But if you get a good look, their build is pretty distinctive. Slender, small, round ears, and those prominent whiskers.
What about lynx?
The
With those ear tufts.
Those ear tufts are a dead giveaway, right?
You can't miss them.
No, you can't. But sometimes people get them mixed up with bobcats.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Lynx have a much shorter tail, and it's got a black tip.
Okay.
Bobcats, longer tail, black band on the top. And those cheek ruffs on a lynx, man, they're much more pronounced. It's like they've got this regal mane.
Yeah, they're really striking.
They are.
And, speaking of predators, we can't forget about wolves.
Wolves, yeah. Another amazing predator.
You rarely see a wolf, when it's hunting, you rarely see it with its tail down.
That's right. The tail is a big communication tool for them.
Yeah.
You see a raised tail during a hunt? That's a sign of confidence, focus. It's a signal to the pack.
Right. And wolves are incredibly intelligent.
Oh, they're incredibly intelligent. They're pack hunters. They strategize. You got to understand their behavior just as much as their looks if you're going to be out in their territory.
Right. It's really important to be aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely. Awareness is key.
Right. And know how to react.
Yep.
If you do encounter wolves in the wild.
Exactly.
And then, of course, there are bears. And, I think a lot of hunters, they know that black bears are omnivores,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, they're not just meat eaters like a lot of people think.
But I think that they often underestimate just how broad their diet is,
Oh, they'll eat pretty much anything they can get their paws on.
especially in BC.
Especially in BC.
They will eat almost anything from berries
Sure.
to barnacles.
Oh, yeah, they love those barnacle.
Like, it's incredible how adaptable they are.
They are incredibly adaptable. But,
Yeah.
Even though black bears are generally less aggressive than grizzlies, you still got to be super careful around them.
Right? They're still wild animals. They can be unpredictable, especially if they feel threatened or, they've got cubs to protect.
Yeah, absolutely. He mentioned grizzlies eating salmon. Is that is that common throughout BC? Or is that just in specific areas?
Good question. You're more likely to see that in coastal areas. During the salmon run, grizzlies will congregate at the rivers and streams to get their fill.
Right. So, it's really important to know the area that you're hunting in
Oh, absolutely.
and be aware of the specific behaviors of those animals.
Yeah. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to safety.
Yeah, and I think that, when it comes down to it, responsible hunting really does rely on, accurate knowledge.
For sure.
Deep respect
Absolutely. Respect for the animals, respect for the environment.
for the animals, yeah. And so, take your time to positively identify that target before taking the shot.
That's the golden rule.
And speaking of resources,
Yeah. The BC Firearms Academy offers some fantastic resources.
they really do.
They have a free online course, in-person hunter education courses,
Yeah,
and even challenge exams for those folks who are, wanting to hunt in BC.
exactly. So there's no excuse not to be prepared.
Yeah.
Being a responsible hunter means educating yourself and, being committed to always learning.
Absolutely.
There's always more to learn out there.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Happy hunting and stay safe.
Be safe out there.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you in the next one.
See you next time.